Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at a brand new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, ARMAROUGE. ARMAROUGE evolves from Charcadet, which you can find by hatching either 2k, 5k, or 10km eggs during this current event. ARMAROUGE is a Fire and Psychic type Pokemon with the moveset of Incinerate, Flame Charge, and Psyshock. So overall, it has a pretty nice moveset, and I'm excited to see what it can do in Go Battle League. It hatches at too high a level for Great League, so I'll be doing some practice Ultra League battles with members of my Discord. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's check out the grand debut of ARMAROUGE in the Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a great lead, leading Cresselia into Annihilate. I actually switch out of that matchup because this entire team has positive matchups against Annihilate, and I want to check and see what their best response to a fire type is. They end up sending in Greedent, which is a bit of a surprise to me as Greedent is not a typical response to a Charizard safe switch. I'm up energy, I can just fire off Blast Burn after Blast Burn until one is finally able to connect. My opponent fires off a charge attack. This Body Slam will not KO, and since the wing attack snuck through, I actually have the Dragon Claw here, so I will be able to win charge attack priority. Dragon Claw not going to KO, but that's honestly okay with me. I don't really want switch. I'm just trying to set up ARMAROUGE to go crazy in the back. ARMAROUGE is going to get the farm down. What is the opponent going to send in here? ARMAROUGE is up energy. They do have the Annihilate, but the Annihilate doesn't have a ton of energy. They send in the Annihilate. Farming up energy. I am going to respect it with a shield. Opponent baits with an Ice Punch, so they're running Ice Punch and Shadow Ball. I'm going for a Flame Charge. Psyshock would hit for super effective damage, but I just want to boost up my attack. Opponent is going to switch in the back. They have Empoleon, and Empoleon, now that it's running Steel Wing, doesn't have any fast move pressure into the fire types. ARMAROUGE is primed to sweep. All I have to do is commit the shield here. Opponent realizes it's over. They go for a bad manners drill peck there. Just saying, I have no way of beating this ARMAROUGE. Flame Charge KOs. In comes the Annihilate. That gets fast moved down as well. And ARMAROUGE sweeps the endgame. Picking up a decent lead in the next match, Cresselia versus Tentacruel. Even without Future Sight, this is still pretty solid. Opponent is going to save switch into Greedent. I don't have a hard check to a Greedent save switch, so I'm going to get some chip damage with the Moonblast and then send in the Charizard. In comes the Charizard, farming up energy. Greedent is going to begin the Body Slam spam. Body Slam number 1 connects into the Charizard. They're going for Body Slam number 2, and I'm going to be no shielding as well. I'm going to look to overfarm slightly with the Charizard before full sending the Blast Burn. I'm not running the Shadow Charizard, which means that this Blast Burn I don't think is going to be enough to KO. The opponent is able to barely hang on, and now I have a choice to make. Do I decide to make a play for Switch and Shield? No, I decide to let it go and instead go for energy on Cresselia. Opponent tries to make it to the crunch. They are not able to get there. In the back, it's Guzzlord, so the opponent is core broken by the Cresselia lead. They shield up the Moonblast. Guzzlord is able to hit for super effective damage into the Cresselia, but they're going to have to give up both shields before they can even make a potential brutal swing, or they just let it go. That does double super effective damage. Oh my goodness. The thing I have to keep in mind, they're very close to a Scald on that Tentacruel. I'm able to make the Grass Knot. If they didn't shield a Moonblast, I don't think they're going to be shielding a Grass Knot here. The opponent, oh, they actually do. They are protecting the Guzzlord, but now it's all up to 2-shield ARMAROUGE in the back. In comes ARMAROUGE. Opponent is going to switch into the Tentacruel. Tentacruel desperately hoping for potential Scald debuffs. But ARMAROUGE does have access to Psyshock, which will be hitting for super effective damage. The Scald connects. I didn't see the debuff go through. That's really good news for me. The Psyshock connects. Big damage onto the XL Tentacruel. Tentacruel is going to be firing off another Scald. I will commit the shield. This time, the Scald does get the debuff. I'm going for a Flame Charge, but I'm going for an Undercharge. I want to put it into 1 Incinerate farm range, and that's exactly what it does. ARMAROUGE gets the farm down. In comes the Guzzlord, and this is a true flipping of the script moment. A Fire Psychic type KOing a Dark Dragon as ARMAROUGE is able to get the win. Moving into the next match, leading Cresselia into Giratina Altered. Definitely don't mind to see this on the lead, because that way my ARMAROUGE is not going to have to deal with it later in the match. The Moonblast is going to connect. That deals massive damage to the Giratina. Giratina has farmed up a ton of energy. Even if they have something like Shadow Force, I'm not going to shield. Shadow Force has extremely terrible damage per energy, so that would be pretty okay for me. They save switch into a Galarian Stunfisk. I respond with the ARMAROUGE, but I was a bit slow on the switch, and down energy here, this is tough. I thought about calling the bait, but I shield at the last second, and I shield a Rock Slide. This can only be a Rock Slide, so I am going to let this through. But now I can build up to the back-to-back charge attacks. I can go for a Flame Charge, and then I should be able to, I believe, leave with a boosted Psyshock here, which is going to do some pretty nice damage into the Giratina if that's what they decide to send in. And it is. I'm going for the boosted Psyshock. Armarouge has a pretty nice attack stat, so they are going to respect it. They're going to get the farm down, but I do have a Moonblast loaded. But unfortunately, I get one turn bring in, and I don't get to click the Moonblast. That should have been a CMP tie, so my opponent should not be able to throw this second move. Because the game lags, I don't get my energy, and now I have to hope for a Charizard sweep. I farm up with the Charizard, go for the Dragon Claw, they make a catch onto Poliwrath, and this is looking difficult to win. It is the Shadow Poliwrath though. With the Shadow Poliwrath, there's a chance. I farm up energy with the Charizard. Opponent, I mean, I have to commit the shield here. They go for the guaranteed debuff, which is probably what they need to do. I farm up as much as I possibly can. This Dragon Claw is debuffed, so it will not be enough to KO. I need 2 wing attacks to KO, and they do. I'm debuffed, but this looks like I might be able to pull off a win. They've already showed Shadow Sneak, which means they do not have Ancient Power, and I live a Dragon Claw here. Dragon Claw, not going to KO. I can farm up to the Dragon Claw myself. This is debuffed. Is it going to be enough to knock out? It leaves the Giratina on 1 HP, but I get the wing attack down and take the win. Picking up a horrible lead in the next match, Cresselia versus Shadow Alolan Sandslash. I'm going to be safe switching into the Charizard, Sandslash staying in here and firing off the Ice Punch. As long as shields are up, Sandslash does pretty well into Charizard. I'm going to build up past the Blast Burn and bait. Let's see, are they feeling brave? They will respect it with a shield, and that's very good news for me. They're firing off more energy. I am going to commit the shield, as I have so much energy on my Charizard. My opponent sends in their own Charizard, and they're running the Shadow. I fire off this Blast Burn. Blast Burn connects, massive damage. I'm able to make it to a Blast Burn of my own. I would love if my opponent shielded here. That would be terrific, but they actually let it go. This proves to be a little bit problematic, as they're going to have a Shadow Alolan Sandslash with quite a bit of energy. And Drill Run will absolutely obliterate the Armarouge, and I don't quite think this next Incinerate will KO. So I think I'm actually going to have to switch out here. The Incinerate does so much damage, I switch into the Cresselia. They're going to fire off energy here from the Sandslash. I've successfully saved the Armarouge for later in the game. In the back, they have a stand attack Staraptor. Okay, opponent bringing a little bit of spice here. The Moonblast connects, that does some pretty heavy damage. Staraptor will typically run Fly nowadays, and Fly, while it is a very good charge attack, doesn't have the closing power of something like a Brave Bird, so my opponent shouldn't be able to knock me out here in one singular hit. They are going to fire off their energy. It is the Fly. I continue to farm with the Cresselia. Oh, I'm not able to get to the Grass Knot. They're going to fire off their energy just before I get there. I am just short of the Flame Charge. I go for the Flame Charge, but I lose charge attack priority. The Sand Attack Staraptor is so spammy. I survive it, but I'm too low. I would have to live 2 Shadow Claws to win the game, but unfortunately, 1 Shadow Claw from the Sandslash is going to KO me. We've got a bit of a tricky lead in the next match, Cresselia versus Shadow Gliscor. Gliscor definitely a bit of a core breaker for this team. This team does feature ABA Psychic types, so anything that can hit with either Dark or Ghost damage is going to be a bit uncomfortable. I fire off the Grass Knot to start. In hindsight, maybe I should have gone for double Moonblast, but I was a little bit expecting them to use a shield, which they don't end up doing. I'm farming up, now going for the Moonblast. I tank whatever they throw here, Night Slash or the Earthquake. Opponent is going to go for the harder hitting Earthquake. That does big damage, but Cresselia is able to hang on and fire off the Moonblast. I don't really want to give up a farm down, so I'm going to aggressively switch into the Charizard. Opponent now going to send in an Empoleon. Empoleon, of course, the Water Steel type, but with the Steel Fast Move now, they have no Fast Move pressure into my Fire types. This is going to be close. I don't know if this is too Incinerate range for the Armarouge, but we may as well try it. Armarouge looking for the farm down. Oh, the Empoleon surviving with a fraction of HP. That is a bit unfortunate for me. Oh no, you hate to see it. In the back, they have Skeledirge. I'm going for the Flame Charge. Flame Charge, of course, will be resisted, but I want to try and boost up my Incinerates as well before I start firing off the Psyshocks. And Armarouge wins charge attack priority over the Skeledirge. Psyshock is going to be shielded by my opponent. It's unlikely they're going to bait here. They're probably going to full send the Shadow Ball, so I will commit the shield and continue to farm up with the Armarouge. Opponent tries for the catch onto the Gliscor. They do not make it. In comes the Skeledirge. I get the catch onto the Cresselia, and this might be the win. The opponent zero bubbles it. They're going to get an Incinerate. Oh man, this is going to be charge attack priority. Double Psyshock to a Disarming Voice, and I think I'm low enough that a resisted Disarming Voice will KO. Oh no, so close to pulling off another amazing sweep with the Armarouge, but it just doesn't have enough HP to survive. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Cresselia versus Shadow Dragonite. This is a bit uncomfortable despite the fact that it is a favorable lead, because Shadow Dragonites love to double shield, and if this Dragonite gets loose onto my backline, this could get uncomfortable very quickly. I will go for the Moonblast. This is a guaranteed shield from my opponent. I actually get the attack drop. That's quite nice. I'm going to watch for the catch. There's the catch attempt. They send in their Charizard. Unfortunately, they lagged quite a bit, but it looks like they were able to catch back up with those wing attacks. Unfortunately, they did still lose a turn, as they should have been one turn ahead, and now it does end up being charge attack priority, so a bit unfortunate there. The game state was not the greatest today. The Blast Burn is going to connect. I'm able to win charge attack priority with my Dragon Claw, and I'm going to go for an undercharge. I actually don't want to KO them here. I would much rather get farm on Armarouge, so I leave them at 1 HP. My opponent undercharges as well. Oh boy, and now we're just both sitting here. We're waiting. Oh, they're able to snipe me with a Magnezone. This could get interesting. I'm going to send in the Armarouge. These Incinerates absolutely shredding the Magnezone. I'm going to protect against a potential Wild Charge, and I am so happy I did. That Wild Charge would have done massive damage. I leave with a massive amount of energy here on the Armarouge. Opponent is going to be sending back in the Shadow Dragonite. Here, I'm going for the Flame Charge. This is resisted. My opponent ends up calling it. I was not expecting them to call it, to be 100% honest. I probably should have double Psyshocked there. I go for this shield as they fire off the Dragon Claw, and I'm going for another Flame Charge. From here, I can go for the combo play into the Cresselia. The opponent anticipates it and gets the catch. What a beautiful prediction by my opponent. And now, do they know where my energy is at? No, I'm able to make the Grass Knot. This is double resisted, but it's going to be enough damage to KO the Dragonite and take the win. Moving to the next match, what do you know? New game, same leads. Cresselia versus the Shadow Dragonite. I'm farming up quite a bit of energy here, going for another Moonblast. Last time I did get a Moonblast attack drop, which is very unlikely to happen again, as I believe it's only a 12.5% chance. My opponent will shield, fire off the Dragon Claw, Cresselia continuing to withstand these hits. Dragonair, Dragonite. Oh my goodness, I clearly need some coffee. I actually simultaneously switch here. I was expecting a catch from my opponent, so I aggressively switch into the Charizard, banking that move for later, as my opponent sends in Jellicent. Blast Burn does some pretty sizable damage, but unfortunately XL Jellicent is just so bulky. It's able to take a Blast Burn when almost nothing in the format is comfortable taking a Blast Burn. I'm shielding up, as I do want to land another Blast Burn. Even if it's not going to be enough to knock out, it hopefully should be able to set up my Armarouge for a nice little farm down. And my opponent is able to withstand the damage, so I'm just going to let this go, and then just go for farm on the Armarouge. In comes the Armarouge, getting that farm down of the Jellicent. Opponent, they have an XL Lantern in the back. Dragonite Double Water is a pretty common team, and unfortunately, there's not really a whole lot for the Armarouge to do here. Armarouge has the ability to pull off some incredibly sick sweeps, as we saw in those first couple games. Like this thing, Incinerate and Flame Charge, we've seen on other Pokemon before how deadly this combination can be, and Psyshock offers it really interesting coverage. However, there are going to be some teams where it just has no play. Like against this team, a Dragon and 2 Waters, not a whole lot of wiggle room here for the poor Armarouge, and it will get KO'd. Hopping into the final match, we see an amazing lead Cresselia into Swampert, but a save switch Shadow Charizard poses some big problems, as Shadow Charizard up energy is incredibly good into this entire team. I do get the shield call right as they full send the Blast Burn, and I'm going for double Dragon Claw here. One Blast Burn shouldn't be enough to KO, so by landing a Dragon Claw, I can guarantee switch advantage, as even if they call it, and then shield, I can potentially just wing attack down after. So they're just going to no shield everything. I should be able to make it to a blast burn on charge attack priority. I'm expecting my opponent is going to overfarm, and they do. They are not going to fall for the CMP tie. They're probably going to look to overfarm to at least 2 hydro cannons before throwing their energy, because taking a blast burn doesn't really negatively impact the Swampert here. A Swampert is already going to have to deal with double super effective grass knot, which is going to do way more damage than the health that they're currently at. So they are going to fire off the hydro cannon. Let's see what they have in the back. It's a Shadow Zapdos. Oh my goodness, the spice. Here they have the Thunderbolt. I think I have to make a call. I call the Drill Peck. I'm able to hang on, and now I can start boosting up this Incinerate damage, going for the Flame Charge. Flame Charge gets the shield from the Shadow Zapdos. Look at those Incinerates. They are neutral, but they definitely don't look it. Beginning to tear through the Zapdos. Zapdos will be able to make a last-second move unless I throw my energy, so I decided to throw my energy. In hindsight, I think I should have just committed to a farm down and forced them to throw energy, because now I potentially open the door for my opponent to get a win con with a massive amount of energy on Swampert. Swampert will go for the Hydro Cannon. That connects. The question is, can they make it to 2 Hydros or potentially an Earthquake? Earthquake did get nerfed, however, in a previous season, so I just don't know if it's going to KO. It all comes down to this. The EQ has to KO for my opponent, and it does not. The Cresselia hangs on. Honestly, if that was unnerfed Earthquake, that probably KOs, but Cresselia hangs on and secures the win. All in all, I genuinely had a lot of fun getting to run Armarouge. Armarouge is a typing that we haven't really seen have any play whatsoever, as previously it's just Delphox, which is really, really terrible. But Incinerate, Flame Charge, and Psyshock is a pretty decent moveset. It is attack weighted, so it's not the bulkiest by any means. I think it's going to be a really fun sweeper in the Ultra Premier meta, as this thing up energy hits hard into just about anything you can encounter, so I'm definitely going to hold on to it for the Ultra Premier meta, as I think this is going to be so much fun to use. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.